Hey, what's going on? My name is KG, and if you're watching this, you're probably either thinking of moving or you have already decided to move and you want to find out more about the PODS container. Before we begin though, please hit that like button and please subscribe so I can make more videos just like this. So like I said earlier, we are going to talk about how much you can actually fit in your 16-foot container, and if you haven't yet decided what size to get, we are also going to talk about PODS sizing for moving across country. If you have already decided to go with the PODS container to help you move cross country, then you need to figure out what size you're gonna get. So they have three sizes. They have a 7-foot container, they have a 12-foot container, and they also have a 16-foot container. Now, to figure out what size you want for the size of your house, then they actually have recommendations right here. In this case, actually, bigger is not always better, just because if it's too loose, then all your items inside will definitely shift and you might get more damage that way. It's better if you actually get a container that's slightly smaller than what you need, because you can always pack it like a burrito. If by any chance you're still confused and you still need to figure out what size you really need for your house, you can also call the PODS container people and they will break it down for you even further than what I'm doing right now. For a 600 square foot apartment or a 600 square foot studio or below, they actually recommend for you to get a 7-foot container. So you can pack a lot in those containers as long as you pack it tightly and you pack it smartly. If your apartment or your space is about 800 square foot, they want you to get a 12-foot container. The sizes of the container that I'll be discussing today is dependent on how much furnishing you have in your house. So these things that I'm going to be talking about right now, like I said, it's going to be for a lightly furnished home. It doesn't mean that you cannot take advantage of this, because you can always get rid of your big furnitures like we did. But definitely this is a good basis for you to figure out what size you need. So for a 1,000 square foot home or apartment, they recommend you to get a 16-foot container. And that also goes for apartments or houses that are up to 1,200 square feet. Now, when you get up to 1,600 square feet, they recommend that you get one 16-foot container and a 7-foot container as well. So they recommend for you to get two. Keep in mind though, when we moved from Cali, our house was about 1,800 square feet and it was fully furnished. We had 3 bedrooms, we had an office, we had a chef-size kitchen. Our kitchen was humongous. Our garage was semi-full, and we also had a shed that you can actually walk in. It was a big shed. And we got rid of some furnitures and we got rid of big items, but we were able to fit them all in a 16-foot container. So like I said, it just depends on how you pack them, and it just depends if you can get rid of stuff right before your move. So going back to the size recommendations for PODS, if you have a 2,000 square foot home, PODS will recommend you to get 2 of those 16-foot containers. And if you have a 2,500 square foot house or home, they recommend you to get 2 of those 16-foot containers and 1 7-foot container. Now, if you have a 3,000 square foot home or mansion, then they do recommend for you to have 3 of those 16-foot containers. So like I said, take it with a grain of salt. It depends on how you pack and how much stuff are you going to get rid of. I would definitely recommend getting rid of most of your big items and getting rid of the things you are thinking about getting rid of but are too sentimental to get rid of. So yes, try to get rid of a lot of your stuff before you actually pack your PODS container. If you don't have a clue how to get rid of them, I would suggest go and register a Facebook marketplace and sell your items there. I sold a bunch of items there, and we ended up making around $1,200 to $1,600. I can't remember the exact amount, but it was substantial to help us actually pay for our move. If you are curious of how much it cost us to move California to Kansas using the PODS storage container, just go ahead and check out this video. I did a full review right there. But just to give you an idea of how much it might cost you to move with a PODS container, for a local move, it might cost you around $600 or so. And for a medium move, it might cost you around $1,500 to $1,600. And for a long move, it's going to be around $3,200 to $3,800, depending on how far you're moving to, and depending if you're going to be using their storage monthly as well. So let's say you figured out what size pod storage to get, and you went ahead and called them, and they're going to go ahead and deliver it in front of your house. Now, what are you going to expect to get? Keep in mind that you need to have a good lock. I want you to make sure that you know that those pods container are not temperature controlled. So if you are going to put items in there that are temperature sensitive, make sure that you pack those last, right before the PODS container picks up your actual container to bring to the storage facility. Packing wise, if you are wondering how to pack them, there's a lot of references and there's a lot of resources for you that PODS have actually compiled for you on their website. You can check that out, but you have to do all the brunt work, meaning you have to use your own muscles to pack those things. But the beautiful thing is, once that container is dropped off right in front of your house, then you can pack it as slow or as fast as you want, and you can also put your skills to the test. If you love playing Tetris, which I do, and I did, but if you love playing Tetris, then this is the thing for you. This is going to be a project for you, and this is going to test your skills on how to maximize each and every space of that pod container. So the other tip I have for you while packing your PODS container is, every time you pack a layer, just make sure you take a picture just so you remember where your stuff are, because packing and moving is just like a really bad hangover. You feel all the pain the next day, but you don't remember anything. So just take pictures so you have a reference of where your stuff is at all times. Now to the fun part. What were we able to pack in these pods? For the first layer here, you see there's a queen mattress box on the bottom of that, and there's also a twin mattress on top of that. Every nook and cranny on this picture has been stuffed to the brim. There's a vacuum, there's also our skis, snowboards, and on the next picture you can see that we were able to pack our sectional sofa that you see on the right bottom screen there. So here we have most of the heavy stuff, the boxes, on the bottom of the picture, and on top, as we go higher, you see all the soft stuff like the couch seats right up there. And if you see those black trash bags, they're stuffed with our clothes. On to the next picture. This was the part where it was starting to get real for us, because it was starting to get full and we still had tons of stuff inside the house. But as you see here, we were able to pack our Cal King bed, as you see on the left bottom picture of the page. And that was actually an electronic base that goes up and down with a remote control. So we were able to pack all of that, plus most of our Christmas stuff, and we also have a grandfather clock right on that upper left corner. I also was able to pack 2 huge rugs, as you see on the top left corner, as well as our tools from the garage. So it might look like you don't have enough space, but sincerely, if you pack it right, you won't have a hard time bringing most of your stuff. We were able to bring our ladder, our miter saw. We were able to bring our foldable table, as you see on the right. And this is actually the third mattress in here, which is a queen mattress for our guest room that we actually didn't need anymore. So yeah, just make sure you don't bring stuff that you are unsure of whether you would keep it or not. So here we are moved into our new house, and this is probably just half of what we were able to fit in the pod container, just because we have already moved our beds inside the house, and we've been living here in Kansas for about 6 months before we moved into this new house. So we were actually taking out stuff from the pods every month whenever we needed something. So what you see right now, like I said, is probably just half of what a pods container can fit. Just a quick recap, we were living in an 1800 square foot home, and we were able to move everything, most of everything, with a 16-foot pods container. But you see on the picture, you see those 3 bikes. We actually carried those with our car while we drove cross country. But yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous how much you can fit in those containers, so don't worry. We had camping stuff, we had coolers, name it. We brought most of everything except for the big ticket items. But yeah, we had so much, and I was surprised at how much those things can fit. So we actually didn't really have any problems with pods. The only thing I remember is that the pod container they dropped off in front of our house, the door had a slight bend, and if you do have a slight bend on the door, it makes it super difficult to open and close. So just make sure that when they drop off your container, that you inspect the door and make sure that it closes and opens smoothly, because that is one thing that people do complain about, is that they have a problem opening and closing those doors if there is a damage to the pods container. Also, one of the other things I think that pods container can do so much better on is that they should also have an app where you can schedule a pickup or a drop off at your house, or an application on your phone where you can schedule for them to pull out the pods container out of the storage so you can access them. Other than that, whenever my husband called, they actually tried to squeeze them in as soon as possible, and they made sure that you got your pods container when you needed it, and they made sure that the pods were in Kansas where we were moving before we actually got to Kansas, so we will have access to our stuff. The other thing I would like to suggest for pods is I wish they had a better way of giving you an online quote, but like any other business, they want you to call, engage with their customer service so you can get an actual quote. So I think it's probably a way for them to get a hold of your phone number and your information, and to also try and negotiate a deal with you. So when you do call them for an online quote, make sure you ask for as much discounts as you can get, because I think that they have a little bit of leeway to negotiate those amount with you. So anyways, I hope that I helped you figure out what size pod to use, and how to pack them up tightly, and how to maximize your space. But hey, good luck on your move. And if you have any other questions, make sure you write them down on the comments below. Or just make sure you get picky when you call for your container. Make sure you let them know that you want a container without any dents. If that's possible, if they can give that to you, then that would be even more awesome. So yes.